had 3 tacos. Ba, 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 ba.
Tacos.
Okay, here we go.
All
Hello.
right.
Welcome to Still Ugly. This is Becki Newton.
And I'm Michael Urie.
And we are here. This is a very good day. This is
It is
a very
a great
exciting
day, actually.
We've got a very special guest for the whole episode.
Yeah. One of my favorite actors and favorite people.
Really good person and a really good actor.
Yeah. The very one and only Chris Gorham.
Who played Henry Grubstick on 35 episodes.
Which is a surprise to me because in my mind, he was in every single episode all day, every day.
Yeah.
He's going to come talk to us about his experience on Ugly Betty as Henry Grubstick.
What a good guy.
He's such a good guy.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Such a good guy.
It's really nice to reconnect with him, and we're so happy that he's here. How are you?
I'm really good.
Yeah, really good?
I think Chris Gorham, someone who has shown up in my life many different times. He did a whole season of Lincoln Lawyer, our first year, and I got to have lunch with him. And he was a murderer on that one. So that was different.
He's an extremely, he's an actor. He's like a chameleon. He can do a lot of different things.
Yeah, he was a scary dude.
Yeah.
But in person, so nice. We got to have lunch together after all these years. I mean, it had been about 10 years since I'd seen him. We got to sit and, eat salad together.
What kind of salad?
I feel like... I don't remember.
Is it like in a plastic?
It was like in a cardboard Tupperware of some kind. So anyway, I'm thrilled we're going to see him and have a very special Henry episode.
His first episode was Swag, but it didn't air first, which is this like ongoing confusion.
I still can't figure it out. And then when was his last one?
The last one was episode 419 called The Past Presents the Future. No idea. No idea. We'll get to it eventually. But
someday we'll talk about that.
No idea what that episode was.
But it's funny. I really do had to be reminded that he wasn't there the whole time.
Yeah.
In my mind, he's always been there. He always will be there. He's a huge part of the show. To me, we talked to America, then we talked to Henry.
Yeah. Betty's soulmate.
Yeah. The one that got away. You're my soulmate? I think you're one of them, honestly.
100% you're my soulmate.
Soulmates.
That was almost my compliment for you.
Oh. I think that often, where it's like there are people, different soulmates in different ways that you're just meant to be near them.
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, doing this podcast together, it feels like we could call it Soulmates.
Oh, well, we're gonna have to redo this logo, rebrand.
No, but even though we haven't actually worked together, we've worked together many times.
Nobody will let us. We've tried so many times.
We've worked together many times over the years since Ugly Betty on other projects, but it always feels like no time has passed.
Yeah, and also just this weird destiny. Henry Grubstick reminded me of all of that.
On today's episode, we'll be talking with everyone's favorite hottie from accounting, Henry Grubstick.
He's a heartbreaker from Arizona with dorky glasses and a secret girlfriend.
From their first accounting irregularity to their last drunk dial.
Once Grubstick enters Betty's life, there is no getting rid of him.
Okay, let's go talk to Chris.
Do you remember how we used to chase him down the hallway and what we would call him?
Grubstick.
Grubstick!
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 Hi, guys.
It's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you, too.
I've seen you more recently.
Yes, you have.
I know you not only as Henry Grubstick,
Yeah.
but Trevor Elliott, the murderer on Lincoln Lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you know this? We reunited.
Of course I watched the show.
Yeah. Same guy, actually. Yeah, people don't know this, but it's actually same guy.
It was a crossover episode.
Yeah, it was.
Oh my God, that was so funny.
Changed his name. Things went horribly wrong in Tucson.
And then...
It was bad, you guys.
I blame Betty. She broke his heart.
Broke his heart.
Became a murderer.
I think that I speak for everyone. The love story between Henry and Betty on this show. I would love to know, when you came into the show, did you know that was the intention, or was this all an accident? Because the chemistry you two continued to share and the growth of those two characters, we saw Soulmates.
Oh.
Did you know that?
Not at the beginning. It was the journey was interesting because I was at home and I got a call from Silvio.
Our creator.
Yes. And now
whom you'd worked with before.
So I'd worked with before on his show just previous to Ugly Betty. Yeah. So Jake 2.0.
Which was his first show, right? That was his first time he was so
he must have been, 24 when he did that? Because he was a child running shows in Hollywood.
Well, and we were the exact same age.
Oh, wow.
We shared, I miss him because we have the same exact birthday.
You're kidding.
Year and day. So we would always connect on our birthday every year.
I didn't know that.
I know.
Wow.
I know. So
such a loss.
So I miss Silvio.
Such a loss.
But he called me and he said, "Hey, I've got this new show, and there's this part that we've had trouble casting, and I would really love for you to do it. Are you available?" And I was like, yeah. Well, what are you talking about? What is it? And meanwhile, my wife, Annelle, was in the background going, "It's Ugly Betty. It's Ugly Betty." Like, it's like, yeah. Like giving me the thumbs because she knew the show. She was very aware. She'd read, that Salma Hayek was producing the show and that Silvio was writing it. And she was immediately really excited. And the only hitch, it wasn't really a hitch for me, but Silvio was being really kind because he needed me to come in and read with America. But he didn't want to ask me to audition because I'd literally just come off of starring in his last show. And so he felt bad, I think, asking me to come in and read with her.
Sure.
But Jim Perriott was insisting that I come in and read with America.
Well, a chemistry read it's important.
I get.
Right.
Exactly, which I get. And I told, and he kept saying, "It's not an audition. It's not an audition." I was like, "Silvio, it's fine. I'm happy to come in, whatever you need."
He was so sweet that way. Like, he would never have wanted you to feel insulted. That was very Silvio. Like, he really deeply cared about how we felt and how we felt respected. And I'm not surprised at all.
No.
Because it's also not a huge ask to say, come in and read with our actress.
Sure.
But he clearly wanted you to feel respected as a star of his previous show.
But also, Henry was a departure from what you did on Jake 2.0. It wasn't like like the same character.
No. You've always been a little heartthrobby.
Yeah, it was really different. Like, Jake was kind of like nerdy superhero.
Yeah.
It was very different from Henry. But the other thing too is, like, I got I kind of created Henry, with the costume. Like, we created that together. Like, Eduardo and I put together who this guy was going to be. Like, him wearing glasses was not a scripted thing. That was it was like me looking for some way to make him a little different.
You requested the glasses.
Yeah.
This is what I can't believe as we go back in my mind. And I think because you incorporated them so well into who he was, you're always sort of touching them and playing with them, and you and Betty kind of connected over these glasses.
Yeah.
In my mind, that was always there.
It's
and these are such incredible surprise. I have chills. Like, I can't believe that wasn't always
like
there.
It started with a look, and then they put an actor into the look.
And and it kind of came from my dad because my dad's an accountant.
Oh,
and he wears
blowing
glasses.
my mind.
Yeah. I know.
What is your dad's
he wears
name?
Glasses. David.
David
Gorham.
David Gorham and Henry Grubstick.
Mm-hmm.
Two of the same.
Henry Grubstick, who is named for David Grubstick.
The
writer
it's such
from the
a
show.
perfect last name.
Right?
For an
It's
accountant.
so good.
It's so good.
Before
we get away from it, I want to say something about the glasses because, like, America and I were constantly putting in tiny little, like, Easter eggs with us playing with our glasses, doing similar things with our glasses, and they always got cut out. Always, they always cut them out.
I remember a lot of the touching of the glasses. Like, I remember seeing it, but
there's a scene in episode 306, in my first episode, where we had just met, 2 weeks before when I came in to read with her. So I came in the next day. All right, I'm back.
Wait, which episode?
So confusing.
In 306?
No, sorry, 106.
106.
Lion, Witch, in the Wardrobe?
Right, that's when you have your real...
The Halloween
was my first episode.
Well, that was...
No, you had another first episode.
No, it was the first one that aired.
It was the first one that aired.
Oh,
He's in
chronologically, we see you before, just sort of floating in the accounting world.
We shot Swag first, but this one aired. Remember that whole...
Now I'm
That's right,
because it was all out of order.
Swag was the fourth one that we shot. Because in my head, I always started on episode 4. When you watch, it's episode 6.
That's right.
Okay, wait, so glasses stuff that got cut out. Go.
Okay, so, like, for instance, in 106, in the elevator scene, my last scene in that episode, it cuts in right at the last possible sec. We were both adjusting our glasses at the same time, but we did it differently, but we did it, like, on purpose at the same time. Like, my thing, I think, was, now I don't remember. I either did it, like, on the side or...
I feel like Betty did this.
I did it on the side and Betty did this. Yeah. Well, we did it at the exact same time, like this awkward moment, and they cut it out. I was so mad.
The editor was like, the glasses again.
I can see exactly how you did it because you did it carefully to not smudge the glass. Like, you just touched frame.
Yeah.
It was very good.
Take us through then. So you met America and did a chemistry.
So I came into Raleigh, into the writers' offices over there, and
At Raleigh Studios.
I'm picturing, at Raleigh Studios. I'm picturing the building where it was. I don't know what it's called.
In the corner.
Yeah, exactly right. And I come in and sitting there, and Sylvia was there, and Jim was there, and then America came straight from set, so she was in full Betty makeup with the braces and everything. And I was just wearing my clothes, right? Like I'm just something nondescript. I had all I had was the scene,
and you hadn't seen what she looked like yet because the show hadn't been on.
Seen anything.
Oh,
can you imagine you're just sitting in an office and in comes Ugly Betty?
Oh wow, that's
right?
A lot of
I was like, it was great, but then we just started talking and we got along right away, and we did the scene, and that was it. Then I went home, and then Sylvia called and was like, "Great, what's happening?" And
that was
thrilled.
it.
I'm sure
that was it, and it was just for 4 episodes. It was a 4-episode deal.
Oh, interesting.
Did not know this.
Yeah.
But you did how many?
It was a 4-episode deal, and then I did,
5,000
and then I just stayed.
So many.
And then I just stayed like a virus.
35 episodes.
No, the best kind of virus.
35 episodes.
So I will say this. When I think of Henry and Betty, like it makes my heart swell. How these two saw each other. I think a big thing with Betty is like her family sees her one way, and then she's at Mode and she's trying to grow and change. And it's like Henry and Betty met at this moment where they were both crackling and they both wanted something more that they saw in each other. And I thought that you two together, and it was the acting and the chemistry, all of it was that magic thing you can't predict.
It was really great. Like, we were finding little things from the very beginning that just made it better, like made it more interesting. Like we're creating more of a relationship than was on the page initially, right? Because I don't think anybody knew what it was going to turn into.
Yeah.
Like, it was supposed to be 4 episodes, and that was the deal.
Right.
But we found, like, I remember, it must have been, what was the other episode? The
Swag.
Swag.
That's where you actually were, in the
she
now
ran in and didn't really notice him in that one. I remember she was in a hurry, and it was something about, like, she had to run in. It was about all the expense sheets.
Yeah.
And it was really, really quick.
Yeah.
But there even in that, I saw you look at her and clock this person.
And she's like, her breath is taken away.
And I think it could be one of those things you both just couldn't help it. Like there was just something that you can't write that happened there.
And it's that thing too where, like, when you find, part of it is just the genius of America, because, she's game. Like, she's just there and willing to play.
Yeah.
And so when you're working with somebody who's willing to play, look at you guys, like, for Christ's sake, like it works, because then it's yes and you start building something that's not necessarily like in the words, but you start building a real relationship. Like, there was a scene, I don't remember what episode it was, where, like, at the end of the episode, we were catching somebody, and I come walking in behind Alan, and, like, with the whole, like, Alan Dale group.
Yes.
That was
the
probably
serious
Swag.
people.
It was probably Swag. Yeah, it was probably that
Wilhelmina's
episode.
Brazilian butler.
Was that it?
And you were like, that's, like, you were looking at expense reports or something.
$20,000 in
bust
Rio.
them or something. And I remember in the rehearsal, I had an idea, and like, it's my first episode, right? Like, but it's not my show. It's not most people probably rightly would just, like, do your job and just keep quiet and do your thing.
Not on this show.
But, like, I was like, oh, it'd be really cool if I, made a look and saw and if she saw, but I need her to react. So let me just go ask her, I was like, hey, I'm going to throw you this look of, like, like, we did it,
Yes,
and
yes, I remember
and she was like, oh, that's great. I love that. And it was totally just a moment that we put in.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of that. Like, there were so many moving parts on the show.
Yeah.
And everyone came with 20,000 ideas.
Yes.
And so probably the biggest issue was how to sort of consolidate them all, but they let us all play. And there was this great joy. I think this particular character, though, resonated with so many people. Like, in the past, had you played super nerds, or was Henry, like, the first full-on?
He was one of the most character-y characters that I'd done.
Ironically, though, like, super hot. Right? Like, everyone on Earth was in love with Henry. Like, his little Superman.
Well, what about that shirtless? When suddenly, and we were all like, whoa, Chris.
Yeah, Chris Gorham. So you were this, like, undercover,
literally,
amazingly hot
two
nerd.
really funny things about that. One is, in 2 weeks from when we shot that underwear scene, they came to me and were like, hey, by the way, we have this great, really funny thing where you're going to be in your underwear. You're going to switch places with the model. And I was like, oh, great. Thanks for the notice.
Is that when you started pounding the egg whites?
So I got real serious. Yeah. So I got real serious because not a lot of time. But then what happened, and Anel was so mad, which cracks me up. Anel's my wife.
Chris is amazing, beautiful wife, Anel.
But because we shot that scene, and the next day, I had people coming down from production because they'd seen the dailies, and were like, was that you? Wait, was that you? Or did they like put your head on somebody else's body?
Victory, yeah.
You know, like they were like, wait a minute. And I was like, guys, it's the dailies. Like there's no visual effects on dailies. What are you talking about?
Did that feel kind of great? Were you like, well, that must have felt
Well, like it was nice. It was like, oh, good. It looked good. But then my wife is like, what do they think you look like?
Well,
like,
okay, question though, just to remind our viewers here, was Betty having a fantasy?
Yeah.
Okay, so Betty was fantasizing that Henry was an underwear model. So you had to be the fantasy.
That was the idea.
Yeah, it wasn't actually Henry. It was
like fantasy Henry.
Yeah,
and to borrow on the telenovela of it all, we often, each character would have these sort of daydreams, right?
Yes.
In typical telenovela form.
Yes.
And then
eventually an actual telenovela daydream.
Right. So she was dreaming.
They must have had an idea that you look like.
Well, Silvio knew.
Oh, because you was being shirtless on Jake 2.0 because you were a robot, right?
Exactly. It was a superhero. So it was
But that's not the show where you were blind.
No, that was after. That was two shows later. After Ugly Betty, I did.
You were blind after Ugly Betty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Covert Affairs. That was the
Covert Affairs
that was
the blind
after
guy.
Ugly Betty.
Can we talk just about what a good actor you are for a second? Because you do such very like Henry Grubstick
but I will say on my show, he played a dark,
dirty
evil
guy.
Scary. You were scary. But then I would see him at lunch. So here's the funny thing. When I saw Chris Gorham, it had been years and we were mid-pandemic. So I hadn't seen any humans.
Yep.
And suddenly we're at lunch on the set of The Lincoln Lawyer and Trevor Elliott, the murderer, walks toward me. I'm like, that's not Trevor Elliott, the murderer. That's Chris Gorham. I couldn't believe that the character that played Henry Grubstick was going to be this murderer. And I have to tell you, you're terrifying. Like on that show, you're so good on Lincoln Lawyer because in my head you're this like really nice, affable guy, and you are, but you were good. That was so good and so dark.
How did you become an actor? What's the origin of you?
The origin story.
Because you're like a really good actor.
Thanks, buddy.
I mean,
you really are
for a handsome guy. Thanks. No, but like these are such vastly different characters that you've played.
Yeah.
And it's and like that Silvio knew based on Jake 2.0 that you could play Henry Grubstick. And obviously now that we're talking about it, you came up with what Henry would be. So maybe he just thought, I need a good actor. Let me get the best actor I know.
What I've observed in my many years working with you is you bring a confidence and an openness. Because there are some actors that have worked a ton and you know that they'll deliver and that's great. But to have all that experience and all that confidence but still want to play, that's the magic sauce. Is that we're still having fun.
Yes.
And I hope forever we can all have that in common. Where it's like when you get to a set, whether you're a murdering psychopath or a nerdy accountant, it's this idea of like, what else can we bring to this? And I've observed that about you over and over, and I love that about you.
Thank you, my friend.
You're very welcome, my friend.
I mean, but you guys know it's always the same job. Like it's always the same job, which is who is this person and what makes them tick? Why are they doing what they're doing? And there's always reasons, right? Like, and so that's all. You kind of have to be hyper empathetic, like you're a professional empathizer.
Speaking of professional empathizing, I've told this story before. I think you know this story. So we had done 2 seasons. I didn't work with you very much because I was in mode and you were often with Betty. So it was a little separate. Yeah. And between season 2 and 3, my father had passed away.
Yes.
And I remember we're still in a professional environment. Not a lot of people knew. And I remember being at lunch and you came up to me. Didn't know each other very well. You said, how are you? You were asking as though you knew something. I said, I'm okay. And this thing happened. And you said, okay. Well, my condolences. And that night, a box of chocolate chip cookies from Milk showed up. And you know how much I love cookies. I don't even think you knew about my sweet tooth. But these cookies showed up, the double chocolate chip from Milk, and they were from you.
Yeah.
Come on.
And I've first of all, that store closed down, and that's the most upsetting part of this story.
Milk is closed?
Milk has closed down.
Yeah, it's
yes.
gone.
I don't know where they went. I bought all their cookies.
And then they left it.
I just distinctly, when we talk about empathy and good people, like I remember I ate all the cookies and I couldn't believe you'd done that for me with such a minimal exchange between us. I'll never forget it. That was a very sweet thing. Yeah.
That's very kind. Well, and I should say, like, what a kind person Becki is like every once in a while, I get a text from her about this saying, I was just thinking about you and my dad and, when he passed and you were so kind and I'll never forget it and just wanted to say thank you again. And every time it's so touching and so I appreciate it.
We're all humans doing this funny thing, right? Yeah, anyway, I'll never forget it. But where did it go? Like, where am I going to get chocolate chip cookies now?
Hey, we'll find someplace.
Do you guys?
They were so good.
They were so good.
Yeah.
Wait, milk is really gone?
Yes.
Forever?
It's like, wait, guys.
I used to
hold
love
on.
their corn cookies.
Yeah.
That was my jam.
Corn cookies?
Yeah, corn cookies.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's like a
Texas thing.
It's a,
No, because you also like cornflakes on chicken. One time, Michael Urie's talking to me about fried chicken, and I was going to cook some fried chicken for some picnic, and you said, can you make me cornflake fried chicken?
Right.
First, I threw up in my mouth.
Come on.
Then I went and made it.
I bet it was good.
I think it was pretty good. It was for some potluck dinner, but like you tend to like things like.
I like corn.
He's a Midwest boy.
It is a very.
I like corn. Well, I'm Texas.
Okay.
Just roll with it.
Honestly, we're
just say yes.
God.
Yes, and Michael. Yes,
we
and.
all, I think, inherently have a chemical addiction to corn because everything's made of corn.
That's true.
we're all corn. But I want to get back to your origin story. How did you become an actor? Because I think that's a really you're such a good, interesting actor, and I want to know where did you learn it?
How did you
become
from?
that?
Yeah, I grew up in Fresno, California. And
Say no more.
Which in this way.
Done. I get it. I know everything about you.
Birthplace of Audra McDonald, end of story.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah, we went to the same high school and we performed at like the same like dinner theater in Fresno growing up, Roger Rocca's Music Hall. Like I saw her.
What was it called, this dinner
Roger Rocca's Music Hall.
Oh.
Still there.
Not familiar, but
Still
I'll
there.
check it out next time in
I was
Fresno.
in the junior company doing like cabaret, song and dance stuff before the main show, which one year was Evita, which Audra was starring in Evita at 18 years old and was
oh my God.
amazing. She was amazing. Like she directed me when I was a kid.
Wow.
Yeah, we had like a group of just extremely talented people come up through Fresno
what
for
part
some reason.
were you in the junior cabaret that preceded
There's no
Evita?
parts,
Not
right? It's like
cabaret, the musical, like
no, it's not cabaret. It's like
I was like, okay, good.
it's like all kids with shirts with our names on the shirts.
Oh, neat.
You
Like a
know,
little
doing a song and dance,
Great.
cabaret.
Okay, now I understand.
Tap dancing.
I was going to be impressed. Less so now.
It was good.
Keep going.
It was like
Sally Bowles when we were
like,
15.
one of the most embarrassing moments in my life was I had finally gotten the guy that did the solo for the Stand By Me song was sick, and I was his understudy, and I finally got to sing the solo, and went out there, and I fucking nailed it. I just crushed it, and I went backstage, and one of the girls was like, "Your fly was down the whole time." I was like,
oh no.
what?
What a bitch.
Humiliated.
My husband was the understudy for Donny Osmond and Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Amazing.
And one assumes when you're the understudy for Donny Osmond, you'll never go on.
Yeah.
He loves to tell the story of there was one time something happened, Donnie missed his flight, and he had to go, I guess you start out that show like up on a podium, and usually that's Donny Osmond.
Yeah.
So right as the lights are, like the music's starting, like they're like, tonight, instead of Donny Osmond, Joseph will be played by Chris, our last name, they go Diamantopoulos. And as he's standing there in like a loincloth, he just hears,
No!
They had to be like, close every door. And just they booed him the whole
900
time.
Mormons were furious.
It was like awful. So I'm sorry your fly was down. I feel like everyone has to have one of those stories.
That's worse. I feel better now, oddly. Thanks, Chris.
So after that, you were like, I want to do this forever.
I went to a performing arts magnet school for high school.
Okay.
In the Fresno
Like,
area?
at that point, you know you're going to do it.
I wanted it. Like I wanted it since I was a little kid. And so I did that, and then
But nobody in your family is.
No, my mom's a nurse. I mean, my mom sang growing up. Like she sang opera in college.
That's not nothing.
No, it's not nothing. But you know, like it wasn't really an option for her.
She was like opera nurse.
Yeah. Yeah, so since I was young, and you know, like why? I don't know, I probably was getting attention for it, and I was like, oh, this feels great, and I'll go do this. And then I was good at it, or good enough anyway, and then, you know, you work your ass off and get really lucky. And
were you a curious kid?
Yeah.
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 Like, I mean, you were just talking about acting and empathy and like getting to the bottom of a character. I feel like that's, you know, the curiosity is what gets you interested in becoming other people.
Yes.
Did you always have, the thing I've noticed about you, because I've worked with you in the last 20 years now, we've worked together.
I know. By the way, how like lucky that we've been able to work together on multiple projects. That's really rare.
Is it more than just
those two? But those are like some pretty big projects.
Yeah. Well, and I did an episode of Love Bites.
Oh my God.
Remember?
Vaguely, because I wasn't really on.
I know, I wasn't really. I just remember one episode you were barely there.
Yes,
because that show was anthology, right?
It was an anthology,
and
I played a pregnant virgin. We're going to get into that into another entirely other episode.
Different podcast.
But the thing I noticed about you is you always are so confident, as in this, like, I can relax if you're nearby. Like, I just feel like have you always been that way, or did experience give you that confidence?
It's probably a bit of both. I think
you give off this, I got this.
Yeah, and I mean, and honestly, like some of that, because I talk about with my wife too. My wife's Mexican, right? So she's had a very different experience growing up in this country. Mm-hmm. I have had the charmed existence of a middle class, like white boy, you know, who's like relatively good looking and talented and smart and like athletic and can kind of is good enough at most things that like. Life's been real easy for you know, growing up. Like, I always just assume that everything's going to work out.
You kind of need to feel that way in acting.
And
like,
it's
if you
really
don't
helped.
Have that for acting.
It's really helped. It's really helped. It's kind of, I call it this like irrational confidence.
And evenness. There's an evenness that comes with that.
Yeah.
Like, well, let's see. Or like,
I just kind of.
When did you know that was, when did you realize you had that privilege, I guess?
I mean, I've only started really thinking about it probably in the last 15 years or so. Like when I was young,
since becoming Henry Grubstick.
Since becoming Henry.
or Anel, I mean, knowing.
Well,
Anel's
like more, it's like being in an interracial marriage, you know, which also gave me insight into what was going on with Henry and Betty. You know, like they have that kind of stuff. Perfect. We didn't really get into it too much in the show, but it was being in the marriage with my wife has been a real education and has been really eye-opening. I think it's great. It's getting talked more about now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, the show did such a good job of juxtaposing Betty's world.
Yeah.
And the rest of the world.
Yeah.
This family was like this pocket. They were close. They all understood each other, supported each other. And then there's Mode with so much dysfunction and not a lot of honesty.
Right.
Even within, you mentioned this, even within like the Meade family, they all had lies and secrets. So I feel like the show really did explore this idea of like two different planets. And how do you exist in both of those worlds at the same time and grow within both of those worlds?
Well, and I think giving credit to Silvio and America especially, you know, finding a way to be able to laugh with and not at this character.
That's an amazing point. Yeah. That we were with them.
Yes.
Because if it was laughing at, we would have gotten sick of that really quickly.
Yeah.
We were always with them.
And you would have lost so much of the audience.
And respect for people. Like, how much can you endure before it's like, you snap? I think you're right. We were laughing with them. We were observing with them. I think Betty at Mode, we were watching through her eyes in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Well, and it was, I have to say, to give you guys credit too, because like your characters were laughing at her.
Directly
like,
at
constantly.
her to her face.
So mean.
Yeah.
So mean.
Racist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mean, horrible. We called her grandma to her face.
Yes.
Sup, grandma?
Yes. And like credit to like the writing, but also like you guys being able to do it in a way, you know, where we don't hate you.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how. We could never do that
America
today,
said something so insightful about how even when we were horrible, we still loved her.
Yes.
There was like still like we loved being around. We loved being horrible to her.
Right, we couldn't wait for her to get the office so we could analyze her outfit.
Yeah,
but that just meant like we couldn't wait to see Betty.
We were obsessed with her.
We were obsessed. And we also commented that we always walked so close together that they had to shoot us all in as a oneer because it's like move over. And we wouldn't. We would just all walk this closely together. Yeah. Do you remember when we started observing Grubstick? Do you remember when we started like, that we'd call it nerd love, but then we started like talking about how hot Henry was?
Yeah, we saw what was there.
We were like, do you remember one time he yelled and you walked away and we were like, that was really hot?
Yes.
Like, oh my God, I know. So when was that when Henry got mad? I wonder what he was getting mad about.
I don't remember.
We were just following, Grubstick. We were like following him around like the most annoying people in the world, and you turned.
Oh,
and
yeah, we went to his office. It was when we went to the accounting office.
And were you like hitting him? And didn't you try to take his glasses? Like we were small children on a
no memory of this at all.
Everything we did was like the worst kids on the playground. Yeah. And then we were like, hey, Grubstick. Yeah. And like you just lost it on us. Over what? We have to remember. Why did Henry lose his mind?
We needed something, we must have needed something from him. And
we were just like bored and followed him. All I remember is we followed him into his office. We were harassing him. We were laughing at him. And he turned around, loses it. And then we both walk out really quiet, like,
that was really hot.
He's so hot. Oh my God. Because he got mad.
Yes. Is it weird that I'm really turned on right now? Or something like that.
Something like that. We're like, I know, me too. Yeah. So then even Henry became part of this, like, we make fun of each other, obsessed with him. But yeah, we were the idiots in that situation.
Isn't it funny how the memory, we've been talking about this a lot, like, like there are things that are so vivid about this show, and then there are things that are in the back recesses of our minds.
Or you remember it differently than someone else. Like I was 100%. Talking about the first scene that I ever filmed. Yeah. And America was like, no, that's not the first scene. It was this scene. And I was like, no. It's what I remember is not, it doesn't mean our memory is even the truth. It's just like the thing that stands out to the, what is your like first memory of being on that set?
Oh man.
First Henry Grubstick.
I would say, I guess the first scene was probably in the accounting office in Swag. But the thing that I remember more clearly from that day is the end scene. It was that group episode where America and I, it was like the first time where we like added something to the scene that wasn't there.
Do you remember in the Halloween episode, the line, the witch in the wardrobe, when you guys had your sushi date?
Yes. Yeah, it was in Westwood. And that was like, it was right after the billboards had just come out and the bus ads had come out.
I remember the bus ads.
And so that was the first day that I'd seen the bus ads because the buses were all over Westwood, which is right near UCLA, which is where I went to college. So it was very comfortable over in Westwood.
Okay.
And that episode, when I got the script for that episode, that was when I knew I was going to stick to the show. And it wasn't because of anything I did. It was because of what they wrote. And it was the moment when he reveals his costume.
Superman.
I was like, oh, that's charming as fuck. Like this guy's
even you knew. You're like, oh, Henry Grubstick.
I was like,
that must have done that.
I'm not going anywhere. We're going to be here for a while. Yeah.
Wow.
I loved that moment when you both connected.
That line and his like but became like his catchphrase that it's just something I know thing. The way she repeats it at the end of the episode, I was like,
yep. Oh, isn't that the best when you feel that way about a part you get to do?
Yeah, well, and like I'd been there by then, so I'd met you guys, and I had a feel for the set, and just
and they wouldn't have done that if you hadn't chosen the glasses, and you couldn't have been Clark Kent,
right? You're right.
You hadn't.
But how cool is that? That's something that these little choices that we make then inform really big choices.
Yeah.
Like Henry Grubstick becomes Superman for her, and I think we all can appreciate that we were given those opportunities to have little impact that then became big impact. I think it's rare. I am very, very grateful that they gave us so much of a playground.
America wanted us to make sure that we reminded you how much you lost at the Dance Dance Revolution game in her trailer.
I never knew you guys played Guitar Hero so much.
Is it Guitar Hero?
Yeah, it was Guitar Hero.
No, she said, she was ask him about Guitar Hero.
Yeah, we played so much Guitar Hero.
I remember that.
Why did someone have Guitar Hero in the trailer?
America had it. It was America's trailer. She had Guitar Hero. She was there all the time. She was 8 years old.
And take me through the hey, Chris Gorham, come into my trailer. Play some Guitar Hero. Like, I need to know how this happened.
I honestly, I don't remember, except it was one of the things where we we just really got along. We just became friends.
Yeah.
And we were 10 years apart. So she would like mercilessly make fun of me for being an old man.
But at this point,
like,
she was, how old was
she was 22. I was 32.
That's crazy.
But like we had like,
by the way, in that world that she was making fun of you.
Yes.
Considering
like, you're
we're
so
in
old.
mode and all these
I know.
old, like it's so funny that she was making fun of you.
Yeah.
Y'all had such great chemistry.
Yeah.
I mean, off screen too.
Every woman on earth wanted Henry Grubstick to be their boyfriend.
Oh, listen.
Like, I'm serious. There was just this like kind, and it was just like the perfect.
Listen, not every woman on earth.
I'm just saying, like, it was this universal.
But he was a type. There was a, it was like, he was such a.
There was a kindness.
He was kind and caring.
Yeah. And he came along at just the right time in the show because Walter was such a great character, but he was
so needy.
Insufferable. Yeah.
Right. And when he was like,
oh my God, Kevin's so freaking good.
He's so good. But like the embodiment of it is how she was dressed as a butterfly.
Yes.
And then he showed up as a zookeeper and would catch her with his net. She's like, stop it, Walter.
Yeah.
That she was ready for something new and to be free, really.
Yeah.
And
that he wanted to own her. He wanted to
Yeah. And I think that was part of maybe her struggle between her world, the mode world. Like she didn't want to change. You know how people like don't change too much. It's like how you also want to be able to change. You want to be able to be free and explore. And I think Henry really did provide that for Betty in a really cool way because he was also an outsider at Mode.
Yeah,
he was in that same world, but wasn't like us.
No.
But he existed and understood what that world was. Silvio created these characters that always had other sides to them.
Yeah.
What would you say Henry's big flaw was, if you could? Because I mean,
sight.
He's like
His sight.
Was there any?
Walks
Did
a little
he show?
funny.
Was there any real like? Well, I mean, obviously later in the seasons.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, can I tell you? I think that was. It was important. They had to find something to break him away. Like they'd almost I almost feel like they'd for the story, right? Because the story
you can't have them get
the
together.
Ugly Betty story is not about the love story between Betty and Henry, right? Like,
I know, but
this
it
show
felt like it could be after for a while. It was like they should be together forever.
And honestly, that was a problem,
right?
You know, for storytelling for the show.
Why?
Because he can't.
Because you can't.
He can't be.
Because then that's the end,
like,
right?
But why?
But why? Tell me
You're
why.
right. No, you're right. So in a way, were
It's the
you
Sam and
aware
Diane
of that
thing.
while you're filming? Which is like it's almost going too well.
Yes. Yes.
And
especially in the second season.
Did it worry
was
you?
like, well, because they brought, as soon as they brought in Freddie.
Oh, right.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, this is going too well.
And how did that
because this is
feel,
not
though?
this
Because
isn't the story.
Our job
right?
is to go in and be amazing. You went in, you were amazing. You went from 4 episodes to 1 million episodes.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
Well, that was fun. It was fine. Like, I understand. It was fine, and I still had fun stuff to do. I tell you, the hardest thing was when I really knew that my days were numbered on the show was because they had this pregnancy thing, right? Like Henry's ex-girlfriend is pregnant.
Charlie
Who's the
gets
dad?
pregnant.
Right.
Who's the dad?
Who's the dad?
Played by
And
Jayma Mays.
we were
who's
at
incredible.
James
and
Mays.
one of my friends to this day.
Oh,
Was
really?
that a lie? Was she lying? I don't remember what.
No, it was Henry's baby, right?
Well, we found out that it was, and when Silvio told me that it was, that's when I knew the writing was on.
Right, because they had
Because
to make him
nobody wants Betty to raise someone else's baby.
Oh my God!
But you're right.
You
That
know?
must have been like, it's like they'd built this perfect human and had to
Yeah.
make him, like, had to create this huge thing.
Yeah.
And so you were told this.
They got
and this
so-
family that you'd been part of playing this part that you made so wonderful.
Well, and then, but then still, like, I wasn't told that it was gonna. Nobody told me that this is winding down.
Mhm, but you started to feel it.
But
that's tricky.
the writing's on the wall. You know, like, I've been around too long. I was like, I see what's like. I was like, damn it. But I was still like holding out hope.
Yeah.
And then honestly, when I found out that the show was moving to New York, I found out on the same day.
You found out the same day that
The
it
show was
They're like,
moving
"Guess
to New
what?
York.
Henry's
We're
baby
going."
and the show was moving.
No. That was later. I found out Henry's baby like a couple months before we were done shooting, but it was the day that I'd shot what turned out to be not my last scene in the show, but my last scene in season 2. Silvio and the co-showrunner, whose name I don't remember now, came down to my trailer. It was like, why are you guys here?
Not a good feeling. Knock, knock. Ugh.
Yeah.
Who would that have been then? Not Marco.
No, it wasn't Marco.
Is it Joel?
Yeah, it must
Maybe
have been
Joel.
Joel
I don't know. We
Fields?
went through, we're talking about, there's always sort of a co-showrunner.
Yeah,
we went
I
through
think
a
it
few
must
of
have
those.
been Joel.
And what did they say to you?
Well, and he said he was like, bless his heart. It was clumsy.
Oh boy, it usually is.
And it was hard. And it's hard because we have such a long relationship.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to, like it was
he didn't want to
and,
upset you.
And he goes, I have good news and bad news.
Oh no, God.
He was like, the good news is the show's moving to New York.
Oh,
No.
God,
The bad news is, now I'm messing it up. The point was, he was like, the bad news is you're not coming back. We can't bring you back for season 3. But the good news is the show's moving to New York, so you don't have to move. Because I've got 3 kids, and I was like, I mean,
or was it more of just like the thing is coming, and then it comes?
I knew it was coming, but it sucked. Like it sucked because, like, I loved working with you guys. It was such a great show, and I loved the character, and I loved, like you said, like America and I had great chemistry. Working with her, like, was so great.
Yeah.
Do you know what's crazy though, as we sit here and you retell this? We were there all 4 years.
Yeah.
I remember you there all 4 years. I don't have this memory of like, and then I just think you were there the whole time.
Yeah.
And there's that says something to me about this character that you created, that like, however many episodes you were there, you were, in my mind, there the whole time.
Well, and from the minute she meets you in that office, she's chasing Henry, whether it's actually Henry or the idea of Henry. She's like, that's always what
Henry
she's chasing.
in New York and magic. And
I think because of Henry, she doesn't end up with anyone at the end of the show.
Yeah.
Not that.
It's a little bit of the one that got away, because
exactly.
anyone would be compared to him. So to your credit as a human and as an actor, you took this 4-episode part and created a character that we all associate with this very successful show.
Yeah.
So
how often did you come in season 3 and 4?
Just once. One in episode 3, like
was
always
that
at the end
Charlie's,
of the season, and then one up
party?
in season 4, like in the finale.
A baby shower, pregnancy party. All because there was like a baby shower, and everyone was pregnant, and Amanda, by the way, wasn't invited. Shows up at Betty and Queens at this party. Betty opens the door, and my line was, "Calm down, Betty." By the way, nobody invited me. And then I come in and I look around, I start eating everyone's food, and I say out loud to no one, "Why is everyone so fat at this party?" They were all pregnant.
That's amazing.
That's a lot you just remember.
I remember because it made me laugh so much.
Really funny
Like,
story.
I think it was one of those where I kept laughing. I mean, no one else was, but I was dying laughing every time.
All these
Why is everyone so fat at this party? And they had all of the
bumps.
pregnancy bumps walking through frame. So you were there at the baby shower.
Sure.
Probably.
Yes, I believe you.
Yeah. But I do remember, I just have this memory of you always being there. Part of this going back that's been wonderful and like surprisingly emotional is I think it's easy when you watch the show and say, oh my God, we were part of something so exciting and we got awards and wasn't that great? There were also some really emotional times. And I think you can speak to it. You had this amazing part and then you found out that it was cut short. So there's this flip side that I think we don't often talk about because we don't want to be ungrateful. But it's the emotional roller coaster of even the greatest success is very real. And I think we all went through that together in different ways. I think everyone's life was significantly changed because of this show. And a cross-country move is a thing. And we all did that together.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. A couple memories came to mind. One is I remember, and I don't know if America remembers this, but I talked to her after I'd found out that I wasn't coming back in season 3. And had called her and we were talking, and speaking about emotional, like out of nowhere, just got emotional on the phone with my friend, about like, I wish I could go with you guys, and like, I understand, and it'll all be fine, and it's just really hard.
Yeah, like this is right and awful.
It was just really hard.
Well,
and then so an episode also that came to mind was the Wicked episode. So something about when we were talking.
Wicked episode.
That was
I forgot about that. What season was that?
That was
season 2.
2?
The Wicked
because
episode.
we shot at the Pantages Theater Monday morning after the Emmys.
Oh, wow.
And America brought her Emmy
to
set.
God, how cool.
And there's a picture of us playing Guitar Hero in her trailer that day. But
she brought her Emmy to set.
Yeah, it was so great. Like,
I can't wait to get to that episode.
Yes, I forgot.
Right? Like, it was the best. Like, I was felt so lucky to like be there with you guys and then to see her have that moment and just have earned it.
Yes.
You know? Yeah. And just, and to see her be so gracious in sharing it and just also seeing how hard she worked on that show. Like doing little things to make it better that people don't know about. Like, for instance, in that episode, the last scene where she comes to Henry's apartment, there was dialogue there. And we got there that day to rehearse it. And America said to Victor Nelly, who was directing that episode, who's brilliant.
Mm-hmm. We have to Victor,
yeah. She was like, hey, can we try this without the dialogue?
Oh, wow.
The writers are like,
right? And just like, yeah,
sure,
I mean,
America.
It was.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, but it was brilliant. It was so good.
Wow.
It was so good. She's like, I just think it'll be beautiful if they say it without saying it, and you have the song playing and it says everything that needs to be said, you hear in the lyrics. And then you just see them communicate wordlessly and it's so, and so Victor was like, all right, well, let's try it. Let's rehearse it and see what it is. And, we tried it.
It's always a good director answer. Yeah, let's rehearse it. It's there we can make sure.
Let's try it. And then he called up to the office, to talk to Sylvia about it. And I really, because they wanted to shoot a version with the dialogue.
Yeah.
So that they have it.
Right.
So that then they can use it.
Well, no, but also just for everyone, because that's what's been approved.
Yes.
And a lot of times, like,
exactly
yes, we can go rogue, but you always want to have the thing that was approved in the first place.
But did you end up shooting the dialogue?
No, we did not.
Yeah.
Do you know Vanessa Williams once said to me, because people always liked to have me do things a few different ways. There was like the way I wanted to do it, and then like, can we do it like a sane person would do it? And Vanessa said, well, if they don't have it, they can't use it.
Yeah.
So she always said,
So
like,
smart.
if something in your instinct is telling you that that's not right.
Yeah.
But for me, wanting to make sure I was doing my job well, when someone said, we'd like to do it this way, that's why I always tried to find a way to take the note but still retain something. I mean, that's a hard one, though. It's like,
that was
we're
tough.
not going to say
And, like,
words.
she may not have been able to pull that off in season 1.
Yeah.
But, like, Emmy winner America Ferrera.
Yeah, you're like, fine.
It's
Let's do a wordless episode. The whole episode.
A few days after winning the Emmy.
Yeah.
And she won them all that year. She won SAG, Golden Globe, and Emmy that year.
Yeah.
Jerry O'Connell gave me a similar piece of advice. Remember Jerry, when Jerry was on the show?
Yeah.
He only did one episode, but he was around a lot because of Rebecca.
Because he's married to Rebecca Romijn.
Yeah.
And I remember complaining to him once about, like, sometimes they're like a director will ask me to do something and I end up taking the note and I'm not happy with what I've done. And he said, you can't ever give them anything you're not happy with.
Okay, the trick with that, though, is sometimes you do have to try it. So you don't know. It's not like we've figured it all out. So I think but I do think it's about, like, listening and having that 1 second of processing what they meant before you just try to do it anyway.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like
and you guys know,
it.
too, so often it comes down to they don't really know what they want, but if they give you a good note, you know what they want and you can fix it.
Oh, that's such a good way to put it.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think we were all, especially within the mode world, there were phases where clearly there was sort of an umbrella note of that's all too much.
Yeah.
And Michael and I would get pulled aside and get these sort of vague talks that were not ever specific of, like, basically, we're scared this is all too much.
Yeah.
And Michael and I would go, and then we'd be like, what are they talking about? And we'd kind of just go back and do it all anyway.
Well,
but there was definitely, like, I was always a little bit aware that there was a fear that it was too much, it was over the top, it wasn't grounded.
Yeah.
And we had to, I mean, what's really fun looking at you now, we probably went, okay, and we did it anyway. But it wasn't from a place of confidence. I think for me, I was like, I wanted to do my job well. And if there was someone at the top worried about my performance, obviously I wanted to.
You guys, I want to ask you guys a question. I'm taking over this podcast.
Yes, thank you.
Michael, because you guys were both pretty new when you started that show.
You hadn't seen my work on the Olive Garden commercial? Are you insane? It was everywhere.
So how have you guys changed how you work? Has how you work changed like now? Because now, I mean, you're both still working. You're both still freaking brilliant and amazing in everything you do. Everything you do.
Thank you.
Amazing. Like, and you seem like the same people to me, right? Like, honestly, like, so how have you changed since then?
It's a great question. I think I've taken a little Chris Gorham from the experience, where experience has taught me a lot.
Yeah.
So that nervousness of, oh God, I got to get this right is replaced with, I know I'm going to get this right. Let's find it.
Yeah.
And that might just be from just experience on set and knowing that someone can be worried about the size of your performance, but they're not questioning your abilities.
Yes.
So when someone's on Lincoln Lawyer, you're the murderer and I'm running around holding a pug. So when someone says like, I'm worried this makes no sense, instead of me thinking I'm going to get fired, I'm like, yeah, this might not make sense. So how do I help make this fit?
Right.
So just that experience and without this constant sort of fear of, oh no, like I don't want to lose my job. And I don't know.
Experience is such a huge thing because you're spinning a million plates when you're acting. No matter what, like the big thing that we would always be told was do less.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, do less of what? I'm doing 10 things over here.
Which thing? But do less was something we often heard.
Or go smaller, or
and it's not really a real note.
No,
like it's not. It's like which thing? And I think what they're saying is make sure we believe you. And we're playing characters that could be absurd. Like they were capable of anything all the time.
But I do think like the something I was thinking about recently, and this is this TV job I have now.
Shrinking on Apple TV.
Shrinking.
It's nominated for a Critics' Choice Award. Just saying.
It's
Harrison Ford. It's no big deal.
Harrison Ford. NBD. But like, I've never worked on a show where the and this starts with Jason Segel as our number one. We're always prepared. No, you don't see scripts.
What?
Everyone's like
just
prepared.
like Lincoln Lawyer, right?
Well, we're also like not doing legal. We don't have to like do jargon. We're not like
but that's a big deal.
Like,
wait, you're saying you come to rehearsal and no one's holding a script?
People don't.
I would get fired
really,
so fast. From
not
that
really.
show.
We don't really hold scripts. I mean, we certainly don't begrudge a guest actor for holding a script because that's
still.
not the norm. But
wow, I'm so impressed.
Yeah, I mean, Jason doesn't. I've never seen Jason Segel hold a script, and so like we've all kind of like, all right, well, we're all going to do this.
It makes you all up your game.
And what happens is when you start shooting, you're already playing. And you remember that thing that you and I always used to talk about? We would get home at the end of a day of shooting and we would be regretful because we'd have figured it out.
I should have done this. Or I would
of course. Yeah.
So I don't feel that.
That's where it's when it's done, it's done.
Yeah, we've gotten it.
The dream, though, is to continue to do this and to keep wanting to play. Because I think that's where I have been on sets where people are all doing their jobs.
Yeah.
But this playfulness and this curiosity, no matter how many seasons you do something, like that's the good stuff.
Well, and it's always because when you're working together in a group for a long time, like you get everybody's rhythm and you kind of you have such a strong foundation that it's really easy to start playing. And when you come in as a guest, at least for me, like even on Lincoln Lawyer, whatever, as I'm coming in as the new guy, like it takes a second sometimes to figure out what the rhythm is. I may need to run it a couple times. It's like, okay, I see what we're doing here, and now I can play within the rhythm of this music. So it's and the other thing is, I'm not one of those guys who can like pick up my sides and read it and then have it memorized.
Right.
Like that jerk.
America could read
that obnoxious,
whole scene
horrible,
at one time, and
so irritating.
I don't remember that.
She has
photographic memory.
Photographic memory.
Yeah.
She picks it up, she puts it down, and she's got the whole scene. It's so irritating.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you come very prepared.
Yeah, I got to work at it.
I'm thinking of on Lincoln Lawyer, you just owned that, and you were playing a killer, but we don't think he's a killer. I don't know. I never know
the whole season.
But like you
I had a
were,
lot. I talked a lot.
You talked a lot. So did you prepare a lot?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I talked a lot. But also,
it's so easy on you. So maybe all that preparation is how you make it look easy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said, like it's a mix of both. It's a mix of like doing the work, the actual like work of preparing and memorizing and all of, and if you need to do research, do the research, do whatever you need to do.
Right.
And then showing up and being open enough to then play with the other musicians in the scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a mix of those two things.
I find, and because I didn't go to Juilliard,
That's so weird. I thought that's how we knew each other.
No, the playing part is easy for me.
Yeah.
The sit down and remember, like I still go like, I think I've asked you very recently, how do you remember all your lines?
Yeah.
Like I never sort of developed like, how do I do this?
Is it easy for you?
You said repetition. That's what you always say to me.
The better the writing is, the easier it is.
True. 100% true. Because it makes sense.
Right. And that's the best way to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like once you're like, okay, this is once you have the idea in your head and you've looked at the order in which the words are written, you realize that is the best way to say this. Yeah. And then
it all makes sense to you.
Yeah. But in TV, especially, sometimes things because they get rewritten so much, it ends up being like Frankenstein.
Right.
And
those are the scenes that are very hard to
Those
remember.
are really hard. And that's like, that's just like that's just the way it is because TV is weird like that. But
I worked with one other actor who was like America. It was Dallas Roberts on Insatiable.
Oh, he's great.
He's just like America.
He went to Juilliard.
So irritating. I know.
Of course he went to Juilliard.
You know what? Here's what I've learned is you always know who went to Juilliard or on the directing side to AFI. And you always know it because they will always
tell you. Okay, wait.
Yes.
So we don't have like a ton of time, even though I feel like we could talk to Chris Gorham all day.
Yeah.
One thing we asked America, if our characters all ran into each other today, what would they say to each other? What would Henry Grubstick say to Marc and Amanda?
Oh, to Marc and Amanda. Well, we shot a version of that on the set of Lady Lawyer.
You did?
We sort of did. We did this we were standing in an elevator and I just like circled around him and stared at him. And I called you. I did a return call.
Yes.
Marc, you won't believe. And I feel like you just played it like Henry still didn't know who Amanda was.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's so
all
good.
These years
I think
later,
like usual, he would be confused.
He's like, who is she?
Like, I don't.
And I think we would know everything about him. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
20 years later, we would have like stalked your Instagram and they would know everything about Henry Grubstick.
And I would like to think that Henry and Betty could like reconnect as friends.
Oh no.
Nice.
I bet their spouses would always be like, no, you can't. Like in my mind, it's like the love story that that they almost can't talk about. Like you can't have.
God, what would it be like to revisit these? I mean, this like.
Imagine if Betty went and got married and then bumped into Henry Grubstick one day. Yeah. You don't think there'd be fireworks everywhere? They'd be like, you look good. Like, no, it would be fireworks. That's what I think about that love story.
I think so too.
The spouses would be like, you can't go see Henry Grubstick. Not that guy. The spouse would hate Henry.
Yeah.
This is amazing. There's so much more. And I think I can speak for myself. The more, like tonight, I'm going to think about so many other things. I'll text you about cookies.
Okay.
And
I know that like the folks who listen to this are so glad you're here.
Yes.
And you're such an important part of this show.
Yeah.
And as the sort of Betty soulmate, the one that got away.
You are soul of the show, I think, like a big part of it. So thank you for being amazing.
Nice.
Thank you for being a really
nice
kind human.
Yeah.
And we'll see you again
See you soon.
on many sets.
Done.
Goodbye.
Well, that was really nice.
I know.
What a good dude.
I knew we'd love talking.
It was so nice to hear from, connect with him, see him, hug him, hold him, touch him, love
all
him,
of those
feel
things.
his warmth, but also hear about his family and about Anel, who was always a huge part.
He was such a huge part of the show, and it meant so much to him. I think that's what I keep noticing is that everyone involved with the show, it had such an impact on them.
And it was also great to hear his Silvio stories because, Silvio is the brain of this whole show and always was from day one till the end, and that we don't have him anymore, that we lost him a few years ago. It's like, it's I think this whole project it's going to be
about honoring him and celebrating him in a way that we haven't really been able to.
And we'll always, we'll always wish we could ask him questions. And I don't know, it felt kind of like he was here a little bit with Chris.
Yeah.
Shall we sign off?
We always sign off by saying something nice about each other. You go first.
Okay, Becki, I just want you to know that the boots that you've been wearing every day this week are getting old. But they weren't old.
The first day?
The first day. It's that we've been doing this every day, and I'm tired of them.
You're tired of my boots.
I'm tired.
Okay. I'm thank you. By the way, thank you, because a true friend can tell you they're sick of your stupid boots. Okay, so I'm going to also tell you that I'm not mad at you that you didn't want to wear my sweater. Remember when I brought this, I said, Michael, you should wear my grandpa sweater. And you were so nice. You were like, I think I'm good. So I would like to say that was a very nice thing that you didn't completely insult my grandpa sweater and just rather said, no, you can wear it. So thank you, Michael. You're very tactful.
My pleasure. Thank you for saying so. It looks great on you. Just not with the boots. Bye, everyone.
Still Ugly is filmed at Rabbit Grin Studios.
Produced by Rabbit Grin Productions.
Music by the one and only Jeff Beal.
Executive produced by Rob Hollis, Jeff Porter, Natalie Hollis.
Creative producer, Jesse Thurston.
Video edit and mix master by Chris Fowler.